BLOCKTV, it's time now for Crypto Craze. Now, as a blockchain media organization, it's sometimes critical to take a step back and look at the means through which we attempt to bring people into and inform them about the cryptosphere. And I speak now with one crypto influencer who states that her goal is just that. Rachel Siegel, also known as Crypto Finally, is a content creator educating in the crypto space through multimedia projects and promotion of her personal brand. And we welcome her now to the show. Rachel, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so Rachel, I want to start an important question with you, and I think something that really speaks to you, your brand, and your role in the sphere as a whole, which is to ask, what credit and role do you give to the future of influencers in a growing crypto space, where we've got institutions coming in to invest, where sort of getting those big money speculators coming in, some high net worth individuals? What role does the classic influencer have to play that's been so important in the crypto sphere up until now, going into the future?
Well, I'm not sure that it has to necessarily pertain to their role as an influencer, as we would view that traditionally, especially in sort of a social media sense. We have these people on our timelines and our feeds that we're used to seeing every day, but more so in the effort and goal of sort of spreading awareness of the fact that this exists. But what I really look at goes beyond just influencers getting involved. I really look at Bitcoin in pop culture and media overall. So I'm talking about mainstream media, Netflix movies, songs you might hear on the radio, and really looking at that accessibility on a larger scale.
And how do you think we go about spreading that message? What's the best role that those inside the sphere can do to get it out there, to move beyond the standard sphere and break really through into that mainstream media role, as you just pointedly there addressed?
Sorry, these photos. I think that a way that people can really get, involved and spread that sort of awareness would be to take into consideration that we're still really in the what is this phase. So a lot of people still have no awareness of the fact that blockchain technology and cryptocurrency exist as a whole. So it's more than while it's still incredibly important that we focus on the technology, we focus on the UI, we focus on the UX, we really do need to take a look at the distribution and accessibility. It becomes incredibly important that we actually frame this in a way that people can understand, because the fact of the matter is, if you're looking at adoption on a global scale, we are going to encounter a big majority of people who just do not have the brain for this sort of technology. And that's okay, but we do need them here.
Right, so then that's an important point that you make, that not everyone is got the cryptographic mind or the technical know-how to really understand all the comprehensive elements of the underpinning technology, but we still want to try and reach out to those people. And that segues nicely to, I want to ask you about your personal story and how you came into the crypto sphere. Because I understand you had a background in production, working in some big musical and theater productions. What brought you to take that shift across into the crypto space and really take up that mantle?
So I do. I have a production background as well as a theatrical background. So I used to work for companies like Blue Man Group, HPE, Weight Watchers, doing social and commercial content. I have friends from a mainstream media background who worked on a cryptocurrency channel making educational blockchain content. They reached out to me and I actually started working with them on their channel. Shortly thereafter, I thought about ways that I could combine my skill sets from what I've done in the past and really bring it to this space that I've gotten myself involved in now. And emerged Crypto Finally, which is what I'm doing today with these Bitcoin music videos and really just trying to reach a larger audience.
And speaking of that audience, we talk a lot in the crypto space, and again, a lot of people on crypto Twitter and whatnot will talk about a community and what it means to have a crypto community. But do you think that in this age, when we're getting so much in the way of factionalism, between adherence to different coins or different ways of looking at the space, as well as we said, with the space growing ever more, it's becoming harder and harder for it to be called a single community. Do you think that that's a problem, or do you think just speaking to the general project as a whole is a positive outlook?
I think really just at this point in time, there are so many people who just simply don't know it exists. So I think really looking at everything as a whole and really taking into consideration that this is something that's going to be so large. We're really on the ground floor right now. We're looking at a massive emerging market. I think that just growing awareness is really where we're at. Such a small percentage of people actually use this technology, access it, are interested in it, are in our community. But because we are so active within our own communities, and we do share about cryptocurrency with our friends, it can be easy to forget that most people simply don't know it exists. Honestly, it's really just like letting them know that the space exists. And I know that it's easy to forget, especially when we're so easily marketed to. And this comes down to social media platforms and the way that the algorithms work. This comes down to what you're watching on your streaming and the advertisements that pop up in front of you, or on YouTube when you're told to select something. Anywhere that sort of profiling happens, men who are involved in the space, please remember that we're not seeing advertisements for cryptocurrency. We are not seeing advertisements for blockchain. I get a ridiculous amount of advertisements sold to me about makeup products, stuff like that. And the world is just geared to us differently, in many, many different ways. And it can be on a social level. It can be, the way that we allow ourselves to get involved. But just on every floor, things are playing against us when it comes to awareness of these technologies. Women who want to get involved, it's not as hard as it seems. It's really just about figuring out how to do it, and getting a helping hand. Honestly, if you feel overwhelmed, the fact that it's male dominated doesn't mean you shouldn't be here. It just means that we haven't grown enough that it's been shown to you. I mean, the fact that I didn't even know cryptocurrency existed until like consensus 2018 seems really messed up. So that's just my 2 cents. It's important to find new portrayals and accessibility when it comes to involving women, and you really want to look at that ground floor. You don't need to throw a hackathon that's all for women. You don't need to take a giant step, something that's really out of your bounds, but just what can you do when it comes to accessibility that women are going to see, or how can you reach out to women and get them involved through their own networks? There's a lot of ways.
Right. So then, speaking of sort of getting people involved and breaking down those barriers to accessibility, as someone who has been through this process herself, what would be your sort of steps if you're someone in the sphere who wants to get a friend of theirs, let's say, involved in the space and sort of turn around someone who's up until then sort of been a bit afraid or unsure of what cryptocurrencies really are. Sort of, what's your go-to steps for getting someone comfortable and a little bit more aware and willing to take that first dip into the pool?
Honestly, I would look into, the projects that have simple UI and UX. I know that there's a lot of issues in the space when it comes to stuff like privacy and KYC, when it comes down to Coinbase, holding onto your keys. But when you're a real beginner and you don't understand the stuff at all, that's not really what you're worried about. What you're worried about is, what is this? How can I get it, and how can I use it? And so I'd say that that's a really easy, accessible first step when it comes to purchasing cryptocurrency for the first time, as well as a simple interface for getting an idea of what trading is. And then really, there's so much information online right now, and the community is all online. Go just do some searches, and don't search for price predictions. Search for information on what this technology is.
And an important message there, not always about the price, but rather about the underlying technology. And lastly, I'd just like to get a little speculative towards some of the ends of these interviews. Looking forward into the future, I want to know, when do you think we're going to have a chance to really crack into the mainstream sort of wholesale? When do you think the crypto world is going to get that sort of mainstream media adoption sort of laid out? Do you think it's a matter of months, years, decades before the whole world is talking about crypto?
I think that it's every few months that the world takes a look at cryptocurrency these days, just in the way that it's portrayed in the news and media. I think there's going to be a lot more news mentions, a lot more stuff when it comes down to the financial end of it. But I think that we are slowly starting to see more movies, more television, more music. And I think that's really cool when it comes to getting people who don't come from a traditional finance background or a traditional technology background to get themselves involved in the space as well. So I think it's happening soon. I think it's happening faster than we're ready for. And there's a lot to look forward to. I think that it will continue to progress over the course of years, but I do not think that it's going to take us that long to get there. Maybe global adoption, it's going to take a long time to get there for sure. But awareness, I think we are right on our way.
An important goal to strive for, and I want to thank you for ending us on that upbeat note. Rachel Siegel, also known as Crypto Finally, you can catch her at Crypto Finally, her Twitter handle there. Thanks for joining us on BLOCKTV, and stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest in news and information. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.